Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Mantee. Yes, we still have an opioid crisis, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Here to talk about that is Angela Conover, Director of Opioid Response and Prevention Outreach at Partnership for Drug-Free New Jersey. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks, Larry. Thank you for having me.
Maybe more than any other topic, we have people come in here and talk about the opioid crisis, from clinicians to physicians to law enforcement to politicians. And everybody talks about solutions and what we're doing now. Lots of money's been poured at it. We have lots of education out there, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. We still have a high rate of people dying from overdoses. What are we missing?
Sure. Well, I think it's great that you are looking at all aspects of this issue, because it's true that everyone has a role. Law enforcement, our prescribers, our medical community, doctors, dentists, prevention, treatment. We all have to come together. But you're right, the issue is we're still seeing over 3,000 New Jerseyans lose their life last year from an overdose. And why is that happening? I know fentanyl is a big issue. We're seeing now fentanyl here in New Jersey. We have ports of access in our state, so we're flooded with opiates. We have a lack of maybe awareness due to some stigma that exists. People may hear of a message, but they maybe don't think that it's going to apply to them because of where they live. They really need to be aware that no one is immune from this issue. I think getting that message out, making people aware, looking for possible alternatives that may exist when they're prescribed an opioid, having conversations with their prescribers, having conversations with their children, just raising that awareness. I think that is where we need to go to see that number go down.
It's so frustrating, because there's laws about how much opioids you're allowed to prescribe. There's limits on it. People are now aware of it. And it seems like fewer and fewer people are getting hooked because of prescriptions. At least that's what the numbers are. And yet you still have all of these people that are
Yeah, well,
we've
dying. Definitely seen the number of prescriptions for opioids go down in New Jersey, which is great. And I think the fentanyl issue is something that we need to look at and need to explore more, because people may not be aware of how little illegal fentanyl can actually kill someone. And that's what we're seeing a number of our deaths attributed to.
CBS News has come out with an investigative report that found that a lot of people pointed to the pharmaceutical industries, but they had to get the okay from the FDA. And they allege, through a whistleblower, that the FDA may have started this opioid crisis by not doing their due diligence.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with the CBS report on that. And, you know, what's unfortunate is there may have been decisions that were made to, that kind of spurred the opiate crisis that we're facing right now. And the reasons for them may have been that, you know, we're trying to figure out a way to address pain, or all of these people were trying to come together to address pain, whether it be the medical field or the FDA, and fast-track things for that reason. Unfortunately, what happened was no one realized it soon enough, and that's how we became a part of this epidemic.
People may forget that the emphasis on pain treatment was a big issue for a while, but they will remember having to go in and circle the face.
Yes.
For what kind of pain they're feeling. That was part of that effort.
That absolutely was. And the idea was really to be able to adequately treat people's pain. Prescribers and doctors and dentists in general didn't want to have patients who had pain. So they were looking at different ways, and the federal government was looking at different ways that we could address that pain. Again, unfortunately, the education that was provided about opioids, their potential for dependency and addiction, was not correct. There was limited research that was done prior to the education that the doctors and dentists received, all of the prescribers received, and that's why we ended up in the situation that we are in today.
And part of that lays on the feet of the FDA,
and part of that lays on the feet of the
fast-tracked
FDA, yes.
OxyContin
Yes.
at the time. There's an exciting new test that they're talking about in New Jersey, where you can find out if you are prone to be addicted to an opioid.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
It would be amazing, and similar to the way that someone needs to know if they're allergic to a peanut, right? If you look at the education, the more information that you have about yourself that you can share with your prescriber, the more you can look for alternatives. And in the case where you and your prescriber decide that even though you may have this potential for dependency and addiction through your genetic makeup, you'll know to look for the signs and symptoms of dependency, the signs and symptoms of addiction that may occur sooner rather than later, so that you can either take a smaller dose, be more watched and overseen by your prescriber, or you can really look at, watching for those symptoms to occur so you can get help and treatment right away.
Do we know where this test is in development, when it will be available?
No, I believe it's in its beginning stages. It's coming out of Camden, which is wonderful. So looking at, getting some updates on that sooner
Because
rather
it's
than
so
later.
important, because not everybody that takes opioid get addicted. And I've heard from them. When I do talk radio,
Exactly.
they'll call in and say, wait a second, this helps me with my back pain. Don't take this away from me.
Yes. I think you're absolutely right. It adds to that conversation we talked about earlier about stigma and about people thinking that maybe it doesn't happen to them, but maybe you have the gene and you think it's not going to happen to you because you live in Monmouth County. So now this helps to really give you more of information and really more of a realistic view of the issue for yourself.
We're almost out of time, but I quickly wanted to get in the fact that there is a push by the Interscholastic Athletic Association in New Jersey to make certain that all parents and athletes watch a video about opioids.
And that program is being spearheaded by the New Jersey Office of the Attorney General with the New Jersey Interscholastic Athletic Association, as well as a collaboration called the SOAP Initiative, which is the Garden State Pharmacy owners, the Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey, and other partners who've come together to really make sure that we educate our youth athletes, we educate the parents of youth athletes, the coaches, about the need to, again, look for alternatives to opioids, prevent the use of opioids when possible for acute injuries like broken hands or sprains, and also to make sure that our parents are aware of the potential for dependency and addiction so that if their child is taking an opioid, that they know to look for those signs and symptoms.
I can't imagine any schools won't do this, so it sounds like that's a slam dunk, to use a sports term.
I'm sure that you're absolutely right, because we all need to, as you started, we all need to really have a role in this, and that's one way schools and athletic departments can get.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Angela Conover, Director, Opioid Response and Prevention Outreach at Partnership for Drug-Free New Jersey. We'll be right back. Still to come on Jersey Matters, how much time should your children spend on social media sites? We'll talk about that when Jersey Matters continues.